Hello, fourth grade, and welcome to lesson 8-2. In this lesson, we're still going to be talking about equivalent fractions, but we're going to be using a number line this time to show how fractions are equivalent and how when you line them up, it's easy to see where the fractions also line up. Let's go ahead and watch our short lesson video, and then we're going to get into our notes and our guided practice together.
How can you use a number line to explain why fractions are equivalent?
Let's find out.
Sal rode his bike 3/4 mile to school. Name two fractions that are equivalent to 3/4. On the number line, the distance from 0 to 1 is the whole. What part of the whole is each section on the number line? Since the number line is divided into 4 parts, each part is 1/4 of the number line. What point on the number line shows the distance Sal rode his bike? 3/4. The points on this number line are named with fractions. Can the points be named by other fractions? Use the number line to find out. Show 3/4 on the number line. Divide each fourth into 2 equal parts to show eighths. What do you notice about some of the fractions on the different number lines?
So one of the things I want you to notice here is that when we had our number line broken up into fourths, into 4 equal parts, and then we cut each one of those parts into 2 pieces, now we have 8 pieces. So now we're working with what we call eighths. Eighths are basically 2 of these eighths make 1/4. Another 2 of these eighths makes 2/4. Another 2 of these eighths makes 3/4. Another 2 of these eighths makes 1 whole, or what we'd call 4/4, which means that you have all of the pieces. Let's go ahead and use our try it to see what we're going to do here. So it says, drag Sal on his bike along the line to see which fractions show the same distance. So now we have our number line that's broken up into fourths, and we have our number line that's broken up into eighths. So if we move him to the 1/4, 1/4 lines up right here with 2/8. What if we move him another one? 2/4 lines up with 4/8. We move into the 3/4 line. 3/4 lines up with 6/8. And all the way to the end, you would have ridden the whole way, the 1 whole. Let's go back to our lesson video.
Some of the fractions, like 1/4 and 2/8, are the same distance from 0. The sections of the bottom number line are smaller, but the whole distance is the same. Divide each fourth into 3 equal parts to show twelfths. Which fractions name the same point as 3/4?
Let's take a look at this number line. If we're looking to figure out which one of these 12 lines up with 1/4, you're basically just going to go down through the number line until you find the equivalent fraction or to see where they line up. Now we know 3/4 lines up with 6/8. If we drop that further, it also lines up with 9/12. So all of those are equivalent fractions because they're moving the same distance. They're just moving it in smaller parts.
6/8 and 9/12 both name the same point as 3/4. What does it mean when two fractions name the same point on the number line? It means they are equivalent fractions because they describe the same part of the whole. So, 6/8 and 9/12 are equivalent to 3/4. 3/4 is equal to 6/8, which is equal to 9/12. What is another pair of equivalent fractions?
Select your answer.
So let's take a look at our fraction line. We want to see which other ones are equivalent. So over here, our first option is 1/4 and 3/8. Okay, we can see that 1/4 and 3/8 do not line up. Let's try another one. 2/4 and 6/12. That one does line up. So we can go ahead and drag our 2/4 and 6/12 to be our other pair of equivalent fractions.
2/4 and 6/12 are another pair of equivalent fractions. Now you know how to use a number line to explain why fractions are equivalent.
All right, let's go ahead and get into our notes and our guided practice for today. Now for our notes, we have our lesson 8-2 up here, equivalent fractions using a number line. How can you use a number line to explain why fractions are equivalent? So to show equivalent fractions on a number line, use this example. If you start with a number line broken up into 4 parts, which are called fourths, you can divide each of those into 2 more parts to make 8 parts, which we call eighths. Or you can divide each of the 4 parts into 3 equal parts and make 12 parts altogether, or make 12. Now, when you line them up from 0 to 1 and you're breaking them apart, you can see exactly where the lines match up. You can figure out where the equivalences are by tracing them down. So all the numbers that align are called equal fractions or equivalent fractions. Now, if we're going to look, we see 1/4 and 2/8 are equal to each other. So how do we get from one numerator to the other? How do we get from one denominator to the other? So 1 times 2 gave us the 2, and the 4 times 2 gave us the 8. Now, why are we multiplying by 2? Because each one of these fourths is broken up into 2 pieces to make eighths. So it's twice as many. That's why we multiplied by 2. Now the 12ths are broken up into 3 parts. So each one of these fourths are broken up into 3 parts to make 12. So we multiplied by 3 to find the equivalent fraction of the 12th. So 1/4, we multiply the numerator and denominator each by 3, and we get 3/12. You can also draw them on a number line together to make it easy for you to see where they line up. So over here, you can see I made the bigger, darker lines my fourths. And then I made my smaller lines. I split each one into 3 sections here, 1, 2, 3, to make my 12ths. And here I could see right away which numbers fall on the same line. But you can also use equivalent fractions to find, you can also use a number line to find equivalent fractions that are greater than 1. You don't have to only go up to 1 whole. You can go past that. So over here, you can see along the top, I measured in fourths. So 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4 is 1 whole because you have all 4 of the 4 parts. 5/4, which is a whole 1 plus 1 extra piece. 6/4, which is a whole 1 plus 2 extra pieces. 7/4, 8/4, which means 2 whole. 9/4, 10/4, 11/4, and so on. And you can see over here, if I have 7/4, that is equal to 14/8. Why? Remember, each one of the fourths is broken up into 2 pieces to make eighths, so we have to multiply by 2 to make the eighth equivalent. If I have 10/4 over here, again, I need to multiply by 2 to make 28. So to make equivalent fractions, one of the things that you must remember is whatever you're doing to the numerator, the top number, you must also do to the denominator. You can't multiply one by one number and the other one by a different number. Your fractions are no longer equivalent. You have to remember that you're moving along these number lines equally in order for your fractions to stay equivalent. So here's another example. Find the missing number. So 2/6 equals something over 18. So first you have to think, how do I go from 6 to 18? And you remember, we're working with multiplication at the moment. I know that 6 times 3 is 18. So if I multiply the denominator, my bottom number here, by 3, that means I also have to do the same to my top number to make sure they're equally moving the same amount. So 2 times 3 is going to give me 6. So 2/6 is equal to 6/18. Now let's do one with the denominator that's missing. Now over here we have 6/12 equals 2/something. So remember, you can use multiplication or division. They're inverse operations. So how do I get from 6 to 2? What do I need to divide by to go from 6 until 2? Well, I know 6 divided by 3 equals 2. So if I divided my 6 by 3, I also need to divide my 12 by 3. So 12 by 3 equals 4. So 6 over 12 is equal to 2 over 4. Now let's take a look at our guided practice. 9 over 6 equals 3 over 2. Why is that? So 9, we can divide both of these by 3 because 3 is a factor for both of these digits. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. The reason these are equivalent is because they represent the same point on the number line. No matter how small the pieces are, they only go out the same distance on the number line. So 1/3, they're asking you to find an equivalent fraction for 1/3. You can multiply by 3 like I did here, which makes 3/9, or you can multiply by 2 to make it 2/6, and so on. You could have multiplied by any number as long as you were doing it to both the top and the bottom. And number 3, you have 1/2. They asked you to find an equivalent fraction. So 1/2, I multiplied by 3 with the top and the bottom. 1 times 3 gave me 3, and 2 times 3 gave me 6. So 1/2 is equal to 3/6. That's it for this lesson. If you guys had any additional questions, let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful day, 4th grade. Take care. Bye-bye.